skip it up and that up. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Rich of Review Tech USA, and just to let you know, I don't give a shit! So Capcom has shipped 4.5 million copies of Resident Evil 6 worldwide. According to Capcom, this initial shipment is the highest ever for a Capcom game. But you gotta remember, shipment figures do not equal the amount of units sold, and Capcom hasn't revealed sales figures for Resident Evil 6 yet. Capcom also stated that the franchise has sold more than 50 million units worldwide since it began in 1996. But if you're thinking all's well in Resident Evil land, you would be wrong. The game only has a Metacritic score of 66 at the moment, and GameSpot gave Resident Evil 6 a crappy 4.5 out of 10. That hurts. Now, due to all the controversy surrounding Resident Evil 6, producer Hiroyuki Kobayashi came out and defended why he took the series in the direction that he did. This is what he had to say regarding Resident Evil 6. I'm going to repeat it verbatim. "We're trying to reach as many people as possible. That makes it hard to maintain a horror feel to it when you're trying to be inclusive. It is a challenge, I'm not afraid to admit that. We're trying to see what kind of action we can include in the game and still maintain the horror sensibilities. Trying to blend those together is not an easy thing to do." Now, Yoshiaki Hirabayashi added in his 2 cents as well. He said, "We're making games and we need to have mass market appeal in order to survive. How far do we go into horror before we lose the support of the average player? How far are we going to lessen the horror elements at the risk of losing core fans, including Resident Evil fans? The challenge is trying to push it as close to the edge either way, so that we can satisfy both groups of people. You can't just bombard them with these horror elements. You have to mix in some stages that are more entertaining and fun than pure horror." Capcom, let me ask you a question. It's now Halloween. Halloween's a big thing in the States anyway. We have haunted hayrides that people pay a lot of money to go on. We have haunted mansions that people pay out the ass. They go there and pay a lot of money because they want to be scared. We have major motion pictures made every year that are horror films. We have horror novels. Horror is everywhere. Horror is mainstream. It's not a niche market. Where do you think horror is a niche market? Are you insane? And Capcom, what you're also not getting is that people aren't complaining about the action elements in Resident Evil 6. They're complaining that the game is pretty much all action. There's always been action in the Resident Evil series. Resident Evil 4 had a ton of action to it. I don't understand. You're trying to make Resident Evil into like Gears of War or a totally different game. That's what people are pissed at. What I don't understand for the life of me is, with Resident Evil 4, you nailed it out of the park. Okay, the controls were a little clunky, but you had the perfect mixture of horror and action. That game did genuinely scare the shit out of me, and it was a lot of fun to play. It was not only considered the best game of the previous generation or the best Resident Evil ever made, it was considered one of the best games of all time. You had the formula, Capcom. You had the cheat sheet to know how to evolve the series in the right direction, and you totally ignored it and tried to make a Gears of War or an action-packed Call of Duty game that no one wanted. No one looked at Resident Evil and thought, Resident Evil scares the shit out of me. It's a scary, fantastic survival horror series, but I really wish it was more like, Call of Duty or Gears of War or some generic action game. What are you thinking? But this is the problem with Japan. It's the problem with a lot of developers right now, is that everyone's trying to make the next Call of Duty. They're trying to maximize their profits, but what they don't realize is that they're slowly killing themselves. People go to game franchises like Resident Evil to get away from all that mainstream first-person shooter crap. People like the originality that used to come out of Japan. They didn't go to Japan to get the same thing they would get from American companies, but this is the trend right now. Mindless action games are hot, and companies across the world are going to try to appeal to the masses that want those action games. Even though, Capcom, I got a secret for you. The masses like survival horror too. You're stupid, and you would have sold even more copies if you made RE6 a true survival horror game. I guarantee it. But anyway, what's your thoughts on Resident Evil 6? Have you tried it? Did you buy it? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? And are you in the same camp as me and want to see Capcom bring the survival horror elements back to the Resident Evil series? Make sure to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And if you have an interesting news story you would like me to discuss, private message me with a link via YouTube, and if I use your news article, I will give you a shout out in the video and feature your YouTube channel in the description.